Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Hello. Folks in the foyer. Foyer, right, right. Here everybody comes. All right. Hey, Bob. Bob just told me to get the show on the road. I'm okay, Bob, I'm at it. Let's get the show on the road around here. Well, this is a quiet and meditative space we've got here this morning. There are a couple of new folks here this morning, and the choir's practicing, and there's chaos with the pancake breakfast. And I'm like, ooh, I should explain. This is what's happening here today. But holy smokes, doesn't it feel good? Woohoo, yay. There's a lot of fun to be had here. So if you are one of those newcomers who just walked into chaos, if you'd like to put your hand in the air, we'll plunk a welcome packet in for you. It won't explain everything, but it will explain some things. Our own Peter Parnegg, did I say it right? Is speaking today, and I have to tell you, when I first met Peter, there was this light, this oomph like that. And I said, Peter, would you like to speak? And that's all I knew. And later I had a conversation like, what's he talk about? Who is he? I don't know. So hopefully, Peter, it's all good. Because it's all good. Peter plays the bass in our musical things, so we're excited about that. I've got some announcements here this morning. Welcome to the online folks. We're glad you can join us. And one of the things about being online is it looks like we're always empty because you can see these front pews. But just imagine there's a horde of people behind those first two pews. Every week we have a prayer chaplain that's available to hang out with people after the service. So our prayer chaplain today is Ginny Hout. And if you'd like to join in prayer with Ginny, back in the Myrtle room, she's available. Prayer chaplain meeting today at 11:15. The Youth and Family program begins a new lesson today on the attitude of gratitude. And Denise is working with the kids. That youth and family team had a huge old retreat and brainstormed the curriculum for the next 7 months. Woohoo. So good things happening with kids, and thank you to the youth and family team. Family fun night here, the Halloween one was super fun. Thanks to the YFM team for planning and facilitating. Kirk, Denise, Jim, Barbara, Nancy, Sharon, and Janice, thank you, thank you. There was a big old outdoor cleanup. Are you?
Yes, I would just personally.
Yes.
I just want to thank all the folks who showed up yesterday and efficiently got all of our cleanup work done in about 4 hours flat. It was amazing. because we had to reschedule that. I wasn't sure, and I had pared back the to-do list, and it all got done, and we had a lot of fun, and we ate lunch together, and then we went home and enjoyed our afternoon. So thank you all, everyone who helped with that.
Yay. Thanks to the Youth and Family Program for our pancake breakfast this morning. Leaf isn't here, but Leaf served me a heart. He is here. Leaf, you served me. All right. Leaf, good job. Yeah. He also served me a heart. Aw. Thank you, Leaf. In your bulletin is a membership form. And so last week, we probably said it backwards. So we were encouraging new people. If you think you're a member, you are, and to fill it out. But we actually also want the rest of you to fill it out, even if you know you're a member, so we can update our lists. So if you could just do that now, that saves us a ton of time with the membership list update. Thank you. Polestar Gardens Kirtan is coming back to Unity Wednesday evenings, gathering in the Friendship Room. The Kirtan is beautiful, just beautiful. Check it out. Okay, Lil, a couple of things.
Hello, I wanted to remind you that we are having movie night this Friday night. It's going to be Awake. It's the story of Yogananda. And is there anybody here from the Polestar community today? If not, we'll try to let them know because some of those folks might really like to come and attend. The other thing is we're going to have the after Thanksgiving potluck. It's kind of a tradition, the Friday after Thanksgiving. November 24th at 5 p.m. And we have a variety show. And we know that we have a lot of variety here and we want you to share it. We're not calling it talent, it's variety. We were singing camp songs at breakfast and thought we could, that there's always that. There's just so much we can do, or a poem, or show a magic trick or whatever. So we'll pass this around, and then it also has sign up for bringing food too. So we can do that as well. Thank you.
Yes. Jay, would you join us?
Good morning. My name is Jay Slovic, and I'm delighted to announce on December 31st at 12 noon Greenwich Mean Time, Unity of Fort Collins will once again host the International Hour for Peace. The International Hour for Peace is a synchronized event held around the world each year on New Year's Eve. Tens of thousands of people around the planet will gather at the same time with a common intention, an intention to be peaceful, to full of peace, and to pray for peace, peace within. This year's event will be the 38th annual International Hour for Peace, and the first time since December of 2019 that Northern Colorado will host a live event. We will announce additional details about the International Hour for Peace in the weeks to come, but I know New Year's Eve is a busy day for many people, so I'd like to ask you to please clear your schedule, save the date and the time, Sunday, December 31st from 5 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. here at Unity of Fort Collins for the 38th International Hour of Peace. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. And the last announcement is don't forget the bookstore with gift cards as the holidays come. Unity gets 30% return on all books ordered through bookshop.org. Thank you so much. All right. Let's join together in our unity blessing. Our unity centers us in light and peace, allowing us to recognize our God within and to radiate that love to the world. Thanks.
All right, good morning. Okay, we've heard there's one guy out here heckling people, so we're hoping to get away without. Yeah. He's a ventriloquist too. Yeah. Well, I chose the old New Orleans standard, "When the Saints Go Marching In," for a couple of reasons. It was All Saints Day the other day, and also Peter's message today is about when bad things happen to good people. In the unity philosophy, it's like everybody's good people, and everyone is saints, right? We're all saints. So here we go. When the saints go marching in,
Go marching in.
oh, when the saints go marching in, oh, yes, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in, oh, when the sun
Oh, when the sun
begins to shine,
begins to shine.
oh, when the sun begins to shine, well, I want to be here at Unity on the corner of Lions and Vine. Oh, when that trumpet begins to call, when that trumpet begins to call, oh, well, I want to be in that number when the trumpet begins to call. Take it, trumpet. All right, we're going to go over these verses again. And we all want you to do what Steve's doing, do the responses. The all saints. Here we go. Oh, when the saints go marching in.
Go marching in.
Oh, when the saints go marching in. Well, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. Here we go. Oh, when the sun begins to shine. Oh, when the sun begins to shine. Well, I want to be at
that number.
right here, Unity, on the corner of Lions and Vine. Oh, when that trumpet begins to call. When that trumpet begins to call, well, I want to be in that number. When that trumpet begins to call. One more chord. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Yes, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. One more time. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Well, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. Thank you. Of course, that's my buddy Steve Amadei on the drums there. And I think Ginny has a little message for you here.
Morning, friends. First, I want to read The Power of Protection, which some of you are familiar with, and it was written by James Dillett Freeman. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me, and the presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. And this is an article written by Reverend Todd Humphrey, and it's called Praying Through Pain. Where was God then? Why wasn't God protecting them? Unexpected and unexplained tragedies have sometimes shattered the faith and ripped open the hearts of my friends and loved ones and many others in this coastal community I call home. After one heart-wrenching conversation with a longtime truth student, I reflected on the prayer of protection. This much-loved unity prayer that has brought great comfort to so many because it now felt empty and false for this individual. Even for the most dedicated students of unity, the prayer of protection can appear dualistic. When we say of God, the light, love, power, and presence sometimes seem to be of something separate from us. Here in this incredible physical world of divine ideas made manifest, it's easy to become seduced by the appearance of separation. When we are gripped by grief and the turmoil of loss, we inevitably focus on what's missing, what's wrong, and how life is not appearing the way we believe it should go. In this constricted place in consciousness, it can be overwhelmingly feel as if God is abandoning or punishing us. Luckily, our master teacher, the way shower, Jesus, taught us that we too can overcome the appearance of separation and experience oneness as he did. The prayer of protection is an affirmation of the unlimited wellspring of life, substance, and intelligence available to us in consciousness. Our beloved prayer of protection is not a magic spell that casts a supernatural security blanket over our physical experience of life. It is not a prayer of God out there somewhere. Rather, it aligns us with our indwelling Christ and the sanctuary within, where there is greater spiritual understanding, light, unlimited supply, love, unlimited creative potential, power, and awareness of our true being, presence. The prayer of protection is an affirmation of the unlimited wellspring of life, substance, and intelligence available to us in consciousness. As we affirm this, we awaken in our mind the resources, the divine ideas needed to face every challenge in this manifest world. Jesus took time apart to sit in the silence. The prayer for protection describes what is available to me when I sit in the silence and commune in that secret place with the truth of my being. Wherever we are in consciousness, God is there because we are individualized expressions of absolute good and unconditional love. This truth won't stop things from occurring that are painful and difficult. Inexplicable tragedies, the ending of relationships and jobs, or the departures of loved ones for their next adventure in spirit. But it does remind us of our ability to shape our experience of events in this world. With this reminder, I can rest and know that all is well when I do the work of overcoming and take time to experience oneness right here as the light, the power, the presence of God. I am one. God is. Reverend Todd Humphrey is minister at Crystal Coast Unity in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ginny. We're going to do a song here that our group Subdudes did many years ago about the plight of homeless people. And it's just concerning and confusing as ever. And it's hard to remember, as Ginny said there, that God is there too. He's on the street too, but it's still
confusing. It's a cold night as homeless people are facing a Colorado winter.
People running scared. It's cold out there. There's nowhere for them to go. Someone will have to show on a cold night. Seems like there are more every day. People on the streets with nowhere to stay. They might be lost, but they're not mistakes. But the sun is going down, and they gotta face another cold night. If there was a guiding angel right here, I'd ask her to whisper in my ear. She might know the rising truth. She might have an answer or two on this cold night. People, you know, I've cried out aloud. Why don't they help? Why don't they care? Yeah, you know I've been torn my share. But it was me that was not aware on this cold night. On this cold night, on this cold night, on this cold night, on this cold night. Thank you.
All we need is a Paul and a Mary. Hi. How are you doing? Thank you for being honest that it was a spontaneous act, an invitation. You went, what did I get myself into? Here we are. Yeah. At some point in our journey, and certainly in mine, we all come up against that stark reality that bad things happen to good people. It's inevitable. It's just the way it is. And if you have any spiritual curiosity at all, the question has to come up, if the divine is all-knowing and benevolent and all-powerful, what kind of a God lets that happen? And I think we all intersect with that at some point. My father was born in Austria. raised by a non-practicing Catholic mother who was widowed by a Jewish husband who committed suicide to extinguish gambling debts. My dad was 3 years old, Hannes. My great-grandfather, Uncle Otto, called Uncle, I don't know why, the dead gambler's father, had invented the ginning process that created what we all know today as cotton Oxford cloth. Yeah, woo. He grew an enormous textile dynasty across the Austro-Hungarian Empire at the time, which ultimately led to the awarding to our family of a baronship. I am a baron. Mm-hmm. Do not look me directly in the eyes. Say again? Oh, that's not a bad idea. We'll get to that next. Yeah, it's coming. Our family married into the Rothschilds. We had textile factories all over Western Europe, and riches and great times were had by all. It was pretty famous. And his daughter, my grandmother Ella, after the death of her husband, spent a glorious and colorful decade enjoying life and men to the fullest, none of whom she was married to at that point. And my father and his brother were raised by a nanny, with occasional moments of mothering by the mom who would come back every now and then to, spend quality time, not quantity time. My grandmother Ella was Hungarian, and eventually she married a Hungarian playwright, a guy named Ladislas Fodor, who was the author of a somewhat famous play, Tom Thumb. You may be familiar with that. Yeah. And when World War II broke out, my father was 15, and in an, as I characterize it here, an extraordinary act of unconscionable parenting. My grandma gave her 2 children, my father Hannes and his brother Leopold, the option to stay in Austria as half Jews, while she and her playwright husband decided to move to LA so he could pursue his screenwriting career. She left her kids, justifiably. I don't think that either of them really ever forgave her for that transgression. My father and uncle experienced the war as half Jews, and the entire textile empire was decimated by the Nazis. And my uncle got captured by the Nazis. He had electronic skills, so he was sent to a place where they built radios for submarines. And he would build these radios, and then they'd put them in a crate. And right before they shipped them to the submarines, they would, in an act of, defiance, pick up the crate and drop it so that at least 2 or 3 of the radios broke. So they would get installed into the submarines and wouldn't work. And my father hid out in an abandoned monastery in the rocks. It's called in southern Austria, with a family friend who had this monastery and hid. And in the middle of the war, strangely, he was discovered and was captured by the Russians. Was sent on his way to Siberia. And on the way to the train, which was to take him to Siberia, in some amazing divine act of courage, he decided to just walk away from the group, was not shot, was not captured, and then managed not to go to Siberia. Made it to America at the end of the war through Ellis Island and moved to LA to join his mom. Ended up with a degree in theater arts from UCLA, and my mother, due to a heart condition, spent her summers in LA. They got married and moved to Albuquerque, where I was born and spent our life. I think it was about 5th grade. I don't remember exactly when, but one day my dad came home from work and he announced out of the clear blue, we were going to church. I was like, okay. I didn't know what to make of it because it was totally random. It was like, por qué? And I thought he was testing the waters and we would eventually go to church sometime, but it was actually Thursday, the day before Good Friday, 4 days before Easter. And so like in an hour, we're in the car and we're going to a church service on Thursday night. And if you grew up in any of the Christian vernaculars, you know that night is Maundy Thursday, which precedes Good Friday, which precedes Easter. And there we were at St. John's Episcopal Cathedral in Albuquerque. And that evening really did change the course of my life in every way. And I knew nothing of the stories of the Bible. I don't think I had heard of even Buddha. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what the Koran was. In other words, I was spiritually a neophyte. And the next 4 days, I experienced the unfolding of the story of the agonizing night with the 12 apostles before Good Friday. I heard the prediction of the betrayal by Judas. My mom and dad and I attended the 3-hour Good Friday service, if you've ever been to that, between noon and 3, which supposedly is the time when Jesus was being crucified. And we did the prayers and the meditations, and then the glorious and remarkable Easter service that probably some of you have experienced in your spiritual journey. And it was at the cathedral, and it was glorious, and the incense and the choir. I mean, it's a big deal, right? In the vernacular of the history of mankind. And the music, yeah. And I hadn't experienced anything like it. And Dean Cady, who was the officiant, was charismatic and kind and enveloping, and it was really attractive. And I don't think the time frame is important, but all of a sudden, from no awareness or consciousness about religion or spirituality, we were immersed in and enmeshed in St. John's Cathedral in the world of what I would call formal religion. And I joined the choir. My father got on the vestry, and my mom joined some Episcopal organizations. We became personal friends with Father Ken, and we leaned into it seriously. We adopted, and we joined. And I never got clear on why my dad decided on Christianity rather than Judaism being 50-50, but we did. For those of you who grew up in any of the Christian vernaculars, you probably know that the Episcopal Church is affectionately known as Catholic Light. All right. We're not real Catholics. We're kind of fake Catholics because we can get married. Yeah.
They're also known as whiskey pinions.
Oh, whiskey pinions. Things I did not know from the pilot. Thank you ever so much. Whiskey pinions, Catholic Light. Are you one? It's all clear now. Yeah. It's a Christian church that's founded on the teachings of the Bible, but the rigid notion that the only way to God is through Christ isn't a primary recruiting or control tool. But somewhere along the line, I either heard or created a story about the nature of God. I don't know how it happened, but if I were to role play a conversation with God, that about the relationship I was developing with the divine, it would go something like this. This would be God speaking to me and me chatting back to God. It would be, Peter, with all the gifts I've given you, I love you unconditionally. But if you could try just a little harder. Now, I love you unconditionally, but I just need a little more out of you to feel worthy. Now, I somehow developed a relationship with the divine that was performance-based, is the point. Yeah, you can laugh, but it was painful, I'm telling you. A little more faith, a little more performance and accomplishment would get me closer to divine approval. And that belief informed my soul for decades, and it was literally excruciating. It was compelling, and it was fearful, and it was all the things that I don't think God intends. But somehow I got that thing. And my girlfriend and I, we became the cute high school couple that attended all the things, and we sang and played the guitar and learned the vernacular and went to the cursillos and counter groups, and we got enmeshed in the whole thing. And then at part of that performance consciousness that I had developed, at about 15, I had this epiphany that said, if I truly had faith, if I truly believed in God, I had to become a priest. And I remember that, oh my gosh. It wasn't a calling, it was guilt and obligation. And I wrestled with it for a little bit, and clearly I did not become a priest. Thank you very much. But some things really started to gnaw at me at that point. And it was like, is the Bible a story or the truth? Is it literal or is it metaphoric? Like, if God loves us unconditionally, how can there be a judgment day? How can those two things sit side by side? If God is all-knowing and there's God's plan, is there really free will? Do we have a choice? Do we have a choice, or we just think we have a choice? And this is really my verb, God's pet farm. You know, everybody says it's God's plan and he moves us here. Here's my view. If Tom Brady and Eli Manning are both devout Christians leading up to the Super Bowl, which they did play, and both of them pray with equal fervency to win, who decides the game? Is it God? And I was like, no, this can't be the way it works. And I was tortured. And really importantly, if God is all good and omnipotent, how in the hell can he let people do the things they do to other people? That's that moment of, wait a second, how can this reconcile? And I had been taught that it was really, really important to go to church and stay on the good side of God's favor. And my performance-based relationship with God had turned into a performance-based life, which then translated into no matter how hard I tried, I could never please God. So I tapped out. Like, all right, let's see. If you love me, God, then you'll love me whether I go to church or not. You'll love me whatever I do and however I get after. Kind of like, let's see what you got, God. It was me sort of tempting. If God loved you unconditionally, I just needed to find out. So I left the church, former religion. I left a daily relationship with the divine for 15 years. I didn't spend much time doubting or questioning the existence of the divine. That wasn't where my angst was rooted. But I spent a lot of time testing my relationship with source, with energy, with all that stuff. Let's see what this really is. And at that time, this was sort of the mid-'80s, '90s, and the rise of what I call the strict evangelical super churches was happening. And the single chant that the only way into the kingdom of God, heaven was to accept Jesus as the just bugged me. It's like, wait a second. It was kind of like dangling the keys to the locker room saying, the only way into the cool kids club is through Jesus, accepting Jesus as your savior. And that just didn't seem very Jesus-like to me. I know the line, I am the way, I am the light, straight out of the Bible, but everything I understood and hoped and understand about Jesus was inclusionary and non-judgmental. Fast forward 15 years. So as my first son turned 12, I had that conundrum of how to introduce my son to divinity or spirituality or God or whatever it seemed right to call all that is. And we all shared the terms universe, divine, etc. And I was introduced by a dear, dear friend to Conversations with God, if you're familiar with that Neil Donald Walsh piece, which I read and reread, and it answered every single theological contradiction that I had ever posed. Why Hitler? Why is the world in seemingly shambles sometimes? Why do bad things happen to good people? Redo past the book. And this is kind of where I landed, is that we have, as humans, love and accept fables, stories. Fables are stories that endure over time. We looked it up yesterday in the car. Fables often include animals, so I'm not going to include any animals in this. But they contain important moral and ethical lessons, from Goldilocks to the Odyssey, to Humpty Dumpty, to Harry Potter, to the Land of Narnia, if there are any C.S. Lewis fans in here, to Star Wars, to Harry Potter. It's not coincidental that every one of them is the relationship between he who shall not be named, which I think is really interesting. Don't call it the devil. Let's just call it he who shall not be named, and good, it is the eternal question. I think it's what we wrestle with. And so one of my best friends, Brian Taylor, who is an Episcopal priest turned Buddhist recently, with whom I've been in bands for 20 years, we played together, recently said to me that he's convinced that the best way to look at the Bible is as fable or story, because it puts aside that anxiety, like, is this a literal? Did it really happen or not? Because at some level, I don't know that we have to settle up on that one. It doesn't really matter. Which really set me free to land on this critical piece I'm going to share with you of making sense out of this world, which is the story of the end of Jesus' life, which culminates in the crucifixion and the resurrection in Easter. And so this is the Peter layman's version of the crucifixion in 2 paragraphs. So imagine it's 2,000 years ago. There's this guy, proclaimed by many to be the Son of God. He shows up, he lives for 33 years. He pulled off some pretty amazing miracles, healing crippled people, turning water into wine, walking on water, sort of ordinary garden variety miracles. And along the way, he never made a mistake. He never screwed up. He never made a human mistake, at least by the fable. Like he was God or something, And remember, this is the short fable version. But he was a preacher by gift, and he proclaimed a new morality during a really dark time of egregious Roman oppression and control. And of course, everything he said directly, if you read it, is spot on. He who has not sinned cast the first stone, when they're about ready to stone the prostitute. Turn the other cheek rather than seek revenge. Forgive rather than judge. Accept the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Love thy neighbor as thyself. The the list is really long, and it's pretty darn good. And then, because he scared the power system at the time and connected with the people, the Romans, decided that the best way to deal with it was to kill him. When in doubt, wipe it out. Now, mind you, the story has made it clear that if he wanted to, God, he had the power to just burn the whole thing down. He arguably, he, she, let's forget he, she, that. They, all those, had already had a Noah's Ark. The first do-over. It's not going so well. We're going to give you a second chance. And then what did we do? We messed it up again. And knowing that he had the power to do that, he instead humbly accepted and humbly endured the fate of a cruel death to which he was condemned based on his teachings and faith, the crucifixion. But as he was dying in agony, asking why his divine Father had forsaken him, simultaneously he says, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do," instead of burning the whole damn thing to the ground in anger. And this is where I think it gets really good, because after being killed and buried, he comes back to life, resurrected from the dead, according to the story. In the Bible, they say he triumphed over death. Now, we're here at Unity Church. And in an act of angst, I get an email 2 or 3 days ago going, "Father Jim wants to make sure you know what the Unity Church stands for." Not knowing who I am or what I'm about to say, I could feel the angst in the email, like it's going to be okay, I promise. We are here at the Unity Church. Many of us have been exposed to some version of traditional religion, and it didn't land at some reason, which is why we're here in this particular community, I believe at least. The exclusionary rigidity of those religions has alienated a lot of us who seek a relationship and a connection to the divine at a meaningful, structural, functional level, not an intellectual level, an understanding of how this world works and why things happen on the surface that might not add up at a surface examination. So my take on what the crucifixion fable is designed to teach us is that we all experience metaphorical crucifixions. 3 weeks ago, John and Anisha shared a pretty amazing crucifixion story. I mean, I was sitting here and I was like, holy moly, I was writing this. But here's what's important. Some are small, some are medium, some are huge. For example, and it was already said today, someone we love cheats on us or leaves us. We get a horrible diagnosis. We're cheated out of a business transaction. Money is stolen from us. The death of a loved one. The senseless attacks on Ukraine and the complicated centuries of conflict in Israel. The ruthless, self-serving leaders that act unconscionably. The inevitability of death, our own or others. The inevitable betrayal that all of us have or will experience by someone we thought we could trust. It's just going to happen somehow. So the real gift of the story to me is that there is a resurrection on the other side. Why this story is an important story. Now, I don't know how the idea got hatched, and I want to be a little flip at the moment. Did Jesus and God work out a deal on Saturday morning? You know, like, I'm dead, but you got anything in mind for me? I know it sounds better in the flippant conversation, but did Jesus know that this death was temporary when he was dying is the question. I don't think it's clear in the scripture. It has a little more gravity if we look at it that he didn't know, that truly it was faith, that there's something here. But then something happened, and I don't even get the count. They always say 3 days, but Friday to Sunday in my book is 2 days. There's another one I've just never been able to figure out. And I don't think it's important that we do. But somewhere between the afternoon of Friday and Sunday when they all showed up and he wasn't there, something really important happened, even metaphorically, whether we believe it happened or not. So for us, the real contemplation is, do resurrections happen automatically? Is that proof of life after death? Is it the ultimate get out of jail free card? Or we could look at it not as an inevitability, but a possibility. And it's a metaphor. And what if we chose to look at it as a choice, not a deal? If we all are the divine, as the Unity belief property proclaims we are part of the universal energy of the divinity, then the question is, are resurrections available to all of us? Which, you know, I'm going to weigh in on that. And I think that this is what the divine intends. And if that is so, it finally makes a little sense to me out of the conundrum of when bad things happen undeservingly to good people. I think it would be fair, and it was funny when John made his comment here, to say that Jesus was good people. We're all good people. And that crucifixions are bad things. I don't think we could argue that, but I don't think so. But the message is a crucifixion isn't the end of the story, is the point. That there are resurrections available to all of us. And for the sake of hope and possibility, what if the payoff to the story is that we have the choice? Our very divinity makes our ending our choice. And because we really do have free will, designed into it, because God, the universe source, the divine, isn't playing us. He, she, they, them built the world, set it in motion, handed us the keys to do with it as we will, and we sure can screw it up. That too. But we also have the choice every day to stay crucified or to transcend those events and be resurrected. So the story, for me, is the only way I can get to peace with, and these are just the current vernacular, the dumpster fire, that the world certainly seems to be sometimes. You look around and you go, holy moly, this is a... Crucifixions and resurrections, small, medium, and large, as a result of our free will. So as a civilization, when we separated from love and instead are driven by fear, the two emotions, we collectively and individually can do bad things to good people. Every one of us, in a moment of cringe, can think about, that wasn't the best version of me at that moment. I metaphorically committed a crucifixion, or I was crucified. And again, crucified is a big giant word, you know, but I think the metaphor is really important here. And that is the reality of free will. But within our free will, we have a model, a story, a fable, a choice to handle the inevitability of those bad things, those crucifixions. We have the choice, and here's the punchline. We can either stay metaphorically dead, or we can choose a resurrection. Thank you.
I'm on the big rig now. Our thoughts are prayer, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayer. Listen to what you're saying. The higher consciousness, state of peacefulness, and know that God is everywhere. And every thought's deed of prayer.
Put our feet flat on the ground. See if we can be 100% in the room at the moment. A couple of deep breaths. Any tension in our shoulders? And what I'd invite us all to do now is do a little scan. If you might find a crucifixion that you're holding on to, a place where you're stuck, rooted, imprisoned, angry, that you could allow yourself the gift of choosing a resurrection right now. Maybe not next week, maybe not next year, right this minute. One of my teachers once said, decisions take a second, but we can take 20 years to decide to decide. And then he said, why don't we start skipping the 20 years? And so maybe today we can find a small one, a medium one, a large one. And let's just choose a resurrection right now. And so it is.
May the blessings of God rest upon me. May God's peace abide in me. May God's presence illuminate our heart now and forevermore. Let the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide in you. May God's presence illuminate our heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon us. May God's peace abide in us. May God's presence illuminate our hearts now and forevermore. Now and forevermore.
Wow, thank you, Peter. Thank you. As you come here from Sunday to Sunday, you never know what's going to arise, do you? And a lot of questions arose in my life too, Peter. And it's always good for us to live in the question rather than dogmatic certainty. Don't you agree? Honorary degree, Peter. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So as we have our ushers come forward, let's take the offering with a spirit of gratitude for all that has been provided to us here in this community, as well as at home and our jobs and every other area of life. Let's just think of that gratitude. And then let's bless our offering with the words on the screen. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
All right, we've been having a lot of fun with our choir, So can everybody come on up right now? After you throw something in the basket. All right? We're going to do a song by Bobby Dylan right here. A song called I Shall Be Released. We got a lot of good help up here, including Elise Wander. Elise does the every other Sunday service. She's joining us here too. But that doesn't mean we don't want to hear you singing too, okay?
I see my light, oh, I see my light. I see my light, oh, I see my light. Ooh, ooh. See my light, oh, I see my light. See my light, oh, I see my light. See my light, oh, I see my light. Ooh. See my light, oh, I see my light.
They say every distant you replace. They say every distance is not near. Still I remember every face, every man who put me here. I see my light come shining from the west down to the east. Any day now, any day now, I shall be released.
Let's bring it way down.
I see my light, oh, I see my light. I see my light, oh, I see my light. Ooh, see my light, oh, I see my light. See my light, oh, I see my light. See my light, oh, I see my light. Ooh.
Take it up. See my light, oh, I see my light. See my light, oh, I see my light. Ooh, see my light, oh, I see my light. See my light, oh, I see my light.
I hear
my
him
light,
shouting
oh, I
out
see my
loud.
light. Ooh.
Oh, crying out, I'm afraid.
I see my light come shining from the west down to the east.
Oh, from the west to the east now.
Any day now, any day now, I shall be released. Can you help us out now? I see my light come shining now from the west down to the east. From the west down to the east. Any day now. Any day now, I shall be released. Oh, I see my light. Oh, I see my light come shining. Oh, I see my light from the west down to the east. Thank you all so much. Thank you, my beautiful choir members. It sounded wonderful.
I shall be released. Oh, yeah. I was like a deer in the lights. Oh, that's why. What did you do?
Okay, John, I think we've got one more musical piece about light. Bright lights, and they're coming in the door back there. All the bright lights. So come on up here.
This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This bright light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Here on the corner of Lions and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Here on the corner of Lions and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Here on the corner of Lions and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Oh, let it shine.
Good morning. As Ann said, today we kicked off our attitude of gratitude with the children, and we had Leaf and Caleb present today, which I'm grateful for. And Leaf would like to share something about gratitude. About what you wanted to say. Okay. Can you tell us something that you're grateful for?
Kitty.
Cake? Yeah.
So
Cake? Yeah.
So maybe the kids will share with their families today. I taught them a magic trick about gratitude.
Okay. Denise and Leaf, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us on this beautiful Sunday together as a community. And we also acknowledge all those that are watching us. As Ann said, there's a horde of individuals out there behind those cameras. So thank you for being here. So let's just gather together in just these next few minutes. Got a prayer, protection, and a peace song. We're going to have to build a bigger room. Yeah. So in the quietness of this moment, let's just go to our heart space as we repeat the words on our screen. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is, and all is well.